The United States has been almost constantly at war since Vietnam. America is currently in 6 different wars, all of which are in the Middle East. About 1.4 million Americans serve in the US military and risk their lives to protect our freedoms and keep us safe, and we thank them for it daily. For over a century now, the world has become more and more of a globalist and interventionist society. In other words, don't just worry about problems at home, worry about problems outside of home as well. But why? Why is America always at war? It's called the military-industrial complex. The term was coined by Republican President Dwight D. Eisenhower in his farewell address.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
But what is this ever-influential military-industrial complex he referred to? He was referring to the coalition of the US military and its industry, the defense industry. The government doesn't manufacture weapons, companies do. In the 2017 fiscal year, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and General Dynamics were the top 3 contractors of the federal government. You can see the link to the top 100 in the description. These companies manufacture cargo planes, helicopters, fighter jets, cruise missiles, and more for the US military. Lockheed Martin alone received 10% of the Defense Department's budget, and the top 3 combined receiving $90 billion from the government. At least 85% of Lockheed Martin's profits come from government contracts. They and all the other defense companies rely on the government to keep their business afloat. More specifically, they rely on the government being at war, so they have to influence the government to keep it that way. Groups that influence the government are known as interest groups, and the defense industry is an interest group. The ultimate goal of an interest group is to create an iron triangle. An iron triangle is created when the interest group and the bureaucracy are getting mutual benefits. In our case, the defense industry is benefited by getting their money, and the Defense Department of the bureaucracy is benefited by getting their weapons. But what is the third vertex of the triangle? Congress. In order for the bureaucracy to spend money, Congress must allow the money to spend. So, the defense industry must influence Congress. One of the biggest ways of doing this is campaign contributions. The defense industry has many PACs, or political action committees, that donate money to congressional, senatorial, and even presidential campaigns. In the 2016 congressional election, Lockheed Martin contributed a total of $1.2 million to Democratic candidates and $1.9 million to Republican candidates. The Clinton presidential campaign received $150,000 from Lockheed Martin PACs, and the Trump campaign $43,000. With the military-industrial complex, the defense industry contributes money to congressional campaigns, which gives Congress incentive to declare war and allot funds to the Defense Department, who buys weapons from the defense industry. This iron triangle may be the strongest one there is. But is it a good thing or a bad thing? There are both pros and cons to the military-industrial complex. One positive aspect is the technology that's come out of it. Transistors were not profitable prior to the military's purchase of them. Transistors would come to replace cathode ray tubes, which would create modern computers and personal technology. Without it, we'd live in a world of 1950s technology. Another benefit is innovation. The military will only continue to buy technology if it continues to be innovative. The same way you'll only buy a phone if it's better than the one you already have.
iPhone 3G, iPhone 4,
iPhone 5, iPhone 6, iPhone 7.
This also creates jobs in the engineering field, which is great for the economy. There are many cons as well. First and foremost are the lives of soldiers. Nearly 60,000 American soldiers have lost their lives in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. The ethics of lobbying are also questionable. Critics say it's a form of bribery or even extortion. The national debt is also a huge concern. The US is $21 trillion in debt as of the making of this video, with about $700 billion going to the military each year. Whether this is a good or a bad thing is up for you to decide, but the defense industry can easily overcharge the government because of the iron triangle. The revolving door effect is also an issue. Dick Cheney was the Secretary of Defense under President George H.W. Bush.
And for that reason, I will not say anything tonight about the operation that is currently underway.
And then became CEO of Halliburton, an oil company, in 1995. When he ran for vice president on a ticket with George W. Bush, he retired from Halliburton. Then, during his tenure as vice president, Halliburton was given a $7 billion contract before the Iraq War.
John, keeping in mind that Halliburton is a major contributor to the Republican campaign and that Vice President Cheney is its former CEO, This move by the government is extremely...
Stephen?
Hold on a second, John.
This is why it's called a revolving door. And that is the iron triangle of the military-industrial complex. Some people say there's a fourth vertex, an iron quadrilateral, with the fourth part being the media. They say that the media promotes militarism, and since it's a bipartisan opinion, it applies to all networks. Until 2011, General Electric was the parent company of NBC. General Electric also happens to be a subcontractor for Tomahawk missiles and B-52 bombers, which are both heavily used in the military. The organization known as FAIR, Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, noted that, quote, when correspondents and paid consultants on NBC television praised the performance of U.S. weapons, they were extolling equipment made by GE, the corporation that pays their salaries, end quote. Also, leading up to the Iraq War in 2003, MSNBC canceled their top-rated show, Donahue, hosted by Phil Donahue. Donahue would publicly speak out against the war on the show frequently, which leaks after the fact confirmed was the reason for the cancellation.
Donahue's anti-war stance is just not going to be very good for us against the flag waving on the other station.
To conclude, whether the military-industrial complex is a good thing or not is up for you to decide, but it is the reason why America is always at war. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.